Montenegro.
Yeah, so we had our first week exploring Montenegro, and we spent most of our time in the Bay of Kotor.
Spent all of our time in the Bay of Kotor.
That's true, the whole thing.
So the Bay of Kotor in the north of Montenegro is like almost like a fjord, because you've got the Dinaric Alps meet the sea and a river winding between them, but the river opens to the sea. So
it's called a ria, actually.
Is it?
It's a flooded canyon.
Okay.
It's called a ria.
So imagine sailing through a flooded canyon. These mountains just coming vertically out of the water next to you, creating all these bays and inlets to explore. And
gusts of wind it creates.
And a lot of wind to sail
quite
in.
Gusty.
So beautiful, spectacular, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
But on top of the nature there,
you've got these beautiful little villages and towns. Some of them are medieval, some of them are where the rich and famous go in the Adriatic. So it's just a bit of a hodgepodge of just all the different centuries combining into one in this small area.
Yeah, super interesting, super pleased that we visited. And that's what we did this week. So we visited some of the major spots in the Bay of Kotor. We woke up in the little village of Zelenica. We travelled to Herceg Novi.
Then we went to Tivat, where the Porto Montenegro marina is. And then we headed into Kotor itself, which is the medieval town with this fortified fortress.
Right at the
very back of the bay. And then, then we headed off to the other side where there's not really much of a town, a little small village, but it was just quite lovely and nice and serene.
Along the way, churches on islands in the middle of nowhere, submarine caves, all these pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
Herceg Novi is a former seaside village that has some fortifications built on it and became a sort of important outpost for many centuries, changed hands a number of times between the Turks, the Illyrians and
the Venetians, the Spanish conquered them.
Empires.
But today it's outside of being an ancient city, but today it's more of like the holiday makers place where people go to the beach.
But you won't find a lot of English speakers there.
You won't find a lot of English speakers there, no.
Very Eastern European and Russian. So everything's in Cyrillic or Russian, and you get an interesting sense that they do things a little bit differently.
Than the rest of the Bay.
But I don't spend a lot of time at Russian resorts, so it's interesting to see how they holiday, which is very similar to us, but just feels
trapped in the 80s.
Maybe 80s. I don't know what it is. It's just slightly
different. So it's the place where people go to the beach. But if you're looking for a white sandy beach,
as we were,
you're not going to find any.
We went for a walk to the beaches of Herceg Novi and just walked and walked and walked, and eventually realised all the rocks that we'd walked past with people sitting
concrete.
on them. That is the beach.
That is the beach.
But once you wrap your head around this sort of odd vibe and the beaches, it's an interesting place. It's fun to hang out.
And then we headed over to Tivat, which is the place where now the Porto Montenegro is, which is the marina for the rich and famous.
They call it the Monaco of
the little
Montenegro.
Monaco of the Adriatic.
Massive super yachts moored there, and all the little bits and pieces to support those clients.
Yeah, so you've got fancy like Dior, Dolce & Gabbana, nice restaurants. It was actually built by a Canadian, Peter Monk.
Specifically for that reason.
Yeah, specifically to make these people. He was a billionaire out of Canada.
You wonder from those first couple of streets.
It's very run down.
Yeah, you get out of the wine bars and the Dior stores and the high-end dining, and it's
really run down. More run down than most of the other cities that are around it. Yeah. So it's very interesting, for sure.
Definitely worthwhile stop on our trip. From there we went and anchored behind an island. Beautiful island. Across the other side of the bay there's some heaving techno which goes from 9 p.m.
fireworks
every night. But the point is there's all these beautiful natural
things to see.
Beautiful
Bays,
natural
coves.
I'm going to finish my own sentence because she hasn't nailed it. I gave her 2 chances, and neither time did she guess what I was going to say.
Submarine tunnels.
It wasn't submarine tunnels. My point is, as well as all the villages, there's these fabulous wild spots you can find and camp.
And then from there we headed into the medieval city of Kotor.
Kotor is the thing to see in Montenegro, really.
Yes, it is the crowning jewel of Montenegro.
Right? And now we know why.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. You've got this fortress, San Giovanni Castle, sitting up on the hill. It's more of a mountain. But you've got the castle sitting up on the mountain with the fortification of the walls going down all the way to the sea level, surrounding by a moat. And then
the city itself is this, maybe one of the best examples of an old, I've been saying this the whole way down Croatia.
But I swear, this is it.
This one must be one of the most incredible medieval cities I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's just a hodgepodge of tiny streets, maze, cobblestone, churches.
Towers.
Just everywhere you turn, something special. And the cats.
And cats, yeah.
And
they
lots
eat
of cats.
Food and water out for all these cats, so
There's
the
a
cat
cat.
has become a symbol for the city.
And there's like a cat museum. One of the squares is named after a cat. If you like cats.
And so we sailed in there on a Friday afternoon with a storm chasing us in. We're lucky to get in before it hit. But after a bit of rain, it settled, and we went out and explored the town. Ate a steak restaurant for cents on the dollar.
Yeah, it was quite lovely.
And then Saturday morning woke up and decided to climb into the mountains, up into the fortifications above the city.
The Ladder of Kotor.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yep.
so you climb, it's switchbacking, and you're just walking back and forth. It took us 50 minutes to get to here, which is well above the fortress, and you can see it. And then we'll make our way back down, and there's a little ladder you can climb that goes actually into the fortress. So we gotta go find that. But it looks like I can see it way down there.
Legal?
It is not technically legal, I don't believe.
Let's break into the fortress then.
Let's go do it. Renegades.
And then obviously great views back over the city itself.
And the Bay of Kotor, which is a UNESCO World Heritage listed site. And the fortification itself is also a UNESCO World Heritage site as part of like this Phoenician defense from the 16th and 17th century, and it's one of 6 different forts in this area.
Which is pretty incredible to have a sort of cultural, historical UNESCO site built in an area which is also UNESCO listed for its natural
cultural significance.
Is it? So from there,
we went to the Our Lady of the Rock, which is an artificial island, and the legend has it is that sailors would go out and they would come back after a successful voyage and they would throw a rock in that location. And this has been happening for centuries and centuries. And so finally they made this island where they sunk this ship with rocks and then built a church on it. And then still today, the people who live in the area commemorate or still celebrate this legend, and they go and throw a rock in that spot.
When they return from a successful voyage? Or?
No, on the 22nd of July every year.
And then from there sailed into another small bay.
Yes.
I
don't know what this is called. Where it was serene. How is it?
Colder than it was further out of the bay.
It's the fresh water.
Life's pretty hard, huh?
Pretty sleepy it is. I think being on a boat makes you sleep more. I wonder if people also think that. It's like you just get drained so much easier.
It's not because you made us wake up at 6 a.m. to hike up a mountain.
I would hardly call that a mountain. I mean, I guess I've been calling it a mountain.
It's a big old mountain.
Maybe. But I also find it just a bit more exhausting on the boat.
Yeah, you've never been a sleepy person before this, huh?
No, I'm always wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. What is that saying from you right here? Something to do with a rabbit, I assume.
I was thinking squirrels.
Squirrels?
Does a rabbit have a bushy tail?
I don't know. Do they? I reckon they do. What about a hare? This is one of the nicest restaurants in Kotor. Someone's chilling beer properly.
What's going on? We're walking down that nice, leafy
We struck out. So we're on.
Thought we go to the nicest restaurant in the area.
Yeah, well, they didn't want us. Not high class enough, I guess. But we're on their buoy, so we thought we needed to eat there, but apparently they don't need us. We're headed to the next best place. Also known as the only other place to eat.
I hope they let us in.
And then we sailed out this morning. So the Bay of Kotor also has a couple of submarine tunnels.
Presumably used in World War II.
So in these hills, or these mountains that you see, they've created carved out this tunnel that's in concrete, and they have these things that go over so you couldn't see the submarine when it wasn't in use.
Park your sub, put some leaves over the top, and Bob's your uncle. You were
incognito.
Incognito, undetectable.
Why you keeping me waiting? All I wanna be, I love you, baby. Been so long, been so long. Why you keeping me waiting? Lose trust me.
So, what do you think? People should come visit Kotor? Bay of Kotor?
Just amazed. Just had a wonderful week sailing it.
Yeah, there's lots to see and do in this area. So.
Now it's come to an end. We're going to sail south towards Budva and ultimately Albania, possibly this weekend. So stay tuned for that. Finger guns.